of the show.
Oh, I'm glad to be here, and thank you.
Oh, God, I'm so happy that you took the time. I know you're quite busy. You're still making money every day,
Well, we have to.
every hour on hour.
That's right. That's right.
It is a blessing. I'm just so happy. You got 2 books out, and we're going to talk about it. But I understand you got to tell us where it all started. I know you're a native of Illinois,
Yes.
so talk to us about this.
Well, I grew up in Rockford, Illinois, and then moved on to Beloit, Wisconsin. And my mother, she's just a strong woman, you know, really. So I always encourage women, when you see a single parent that's really out there fighting, well, I'm a seed of a single parent, you know. And Dad left, but I also give my Uncle Willie, who always gave that credit. He stepped in. It was that father figure for me, you know. But from there, just growing up, you know, there was no silver spoon. There was love, and that was the difference. So I always knew that Mama loved me, and I always knew that Mama was always praying. Now, when you're young, sometimes you're like, oh, there that woman go praying again. There she go talking that God and church stuff again. And you know, you kind of move back as a child, and you grow up and you go out in the world. And then all of a sudden you get into this real thing called world and life.
Right,
and you're like, oh, man, Mama was right. And, you know, and the world will put you on your knees.
Yes, it will.
And make you pray. And all of a sudden, everything that she was speaking into me throughout my whole life actually started making sense. And I realized then it was nothing but the Word of God. So now they say, oh, you're going to be teaching God's Word. You're going to be doing this. You're going to be doing that in life. And I was looking at it like, no, that's for Pastor so-and-so. That's for this person. That's not me. You know, and now today I stand up bold. I'm like, you know what? I'm where I'm at because of the grace of God. Because he put a protection over my mother, my sisters, and my brothers, and he protected us, and he brought us up well. So we are all doing well today, and it's because of him that we are where we are.
Right. Now, how many siblings you have?
There is 9 of us.
What?
Yes. 2 marriages. Mama was right. She did it right. Two dads.
She did it right.
You know, she did it right. I don't want nobody getting the wrong thing. Don't talk about my mama now.
Right.
You know, she did it right. But, you know, the men just weren't being strong enough to stay in the homes to lead. You know, and that was the difference. So that's why I say I get around a lot of women. I teach a lot of conferences, and I just, you know, I give the women an extra hug and say, you know what, hang in there for your children, because that's that love, that motherly love that I was given, you know, as well as now always, like I said, I give my uncle the credit because he stepped in too, so I did have that manly love there. But it was from them and their guidance, and I remember my uncle always saying, boy, ain't nobody gonna give you nothing in life. You know, anything you want in life, you got to go work for it. You know, and I would be like, man, he, you know, in our perception, he was doing well. You know, he worked good, owned a home, you know, nothing fabulous, but he did good, and I loved him for it. You know, but I always heard his words, so anything I wanted in life, I didn't expect it given to me. I had to go work for it, and I was really too afraid to do anything illegal because I didn't want to embarrass my mother. You know, because she always said, like, I don't want you out there playing with that one. Don't play with that one. And I'm like, oh, Mama, they cool. And so today I have friends who are in prison, you know, that I still communicate with. You know, I tell her I didn't alienate none of them, you know. I talk to them, speak into their lives, and tell them, like, hey, you know what? We did have the same gift and talent. You went that way, and I went to school. You know, and that was the difference. You know, when I worked and managed Taco Bells, they was like, man, how can you do that? And I'm like, man, these tacos were good. You know, but it paid the bills, and it paved the way. So today, you know, we're living a whole different lifestyle and a different tax bracket.
So you telling me, Brother Paul, you went from Taco Bell to a level of success that you never thought you would witness, right?
Yes, absolutely. Because you know what? The managers at Taco Bell, and I give them the credit, and I tell everybody, you work at any, you know, fast food establishment or someplace, I learned from the lazy managers, and I speak it all the time. There was always the manager who didn't want to do the inventory, and I would be like, I'll do it. You know, when they called in and like, oh, I need somebody to come to work. Will you work for me? Yeah, I'll do it. You know, but what I was really doing is I was learning their system.
Right.
You know, so I learned everything about business. Then I went to Colorado and got a business degree to get back in life. And then I started managing the Taco Bells and eventually training the managers to run the Taco Bells. So then when someone came and approached me about working a home-based business, I looked at them like they were crazy, not realizing that God was preparing me the whole time, that it's the whole system right here that you must learn. And I just went on and did it. While others said they couldn't do it.
So you actually did hands-on.
Yes.
Hands-on. And then, of course, I'm pretty sure God was leading you.
Yes.
And you didn't really realize that you were actually walking in the steps of a manager.
Right.
But you had to start somewhere. That's where I'm getting. You had to start somewhere. There's a lot of young men out there and young ladies that say, well, I don't want to go to Taco Bell. I don't want to work at McDonald's. I don't want to work at.
That's right.
But there has to be a start. And I want you to tell these young people the importance of starting somewhere.
Right.
We got a lot we're going to talk about, and that's what
Absolutely.
I really want you to talk about that, because I see a lot of these young people, you know, they want the money fast. They don't want to work. They, you know, you go to school, and that's all, and then you look for mama to, you know, pay this bill, pay that bill, pay your books, pay for your books, and, you know, get your car, but they don't know you have to start somewhere.
Right.
Tell us about that.
Well, number one, once I started going and I understood the principles of saving money, so you can't live yourself to the max, you know, and I understand, I've been there, you know, I'll tell people I'm an open book. I made millions, lost it, got back on the horse and said, okay, hold on, that happened. And I always tell people, when you meet a person that say they made wealth or accomplished certain forms of wealth, I teach people from where I slipped at. So, and I realized that I knew how I scheduled my life when I made the first million. Then I knew when I got there, I got comfortable. Okay. You know, it's like in the kingdom, we can say you backslid. Yeah. You know, the same principles that got me there, I sat down and I was like, oh, everything is good. But then a recession hit, the economy changed, all these things work. And I realized that, you know what, you have to stay on your grind, as the young people say. You know, but because I understood how money was made, and I understood the principles behind it. And I tell people, number one, do not be afraid of that tithe. Wow. You know, I never stopped giving, that's it. Period. I just knew that was the key, and that was the link to get me back on. Then from there, I saved 20%. Okay. You know, I give my wife Nancy, she saved 20%. Okay. She put that aside. I'm going to give her props. You know, but she did that. And then I lived off the 70%. You know, and I made my whole lifestyle based on after I gave. Now I raised the bar. I say, well, I still want a nice home. I still want nice cars. I still want everything that people say are nice. But I did it based on after I've given. Okay, so you did 10%. Yes. Your tithe. Yes. And then you did 20%. You saved. And then the rest. 70% I lived on. So that's a good principle. Absolutely. 10% you tithe, 20% you save, and 70% you live off on. That's right. Wow. So then I raised the bar from there. I actually, when I made my first million, I based it on what I wanted to tithe. So I always looked at it, never what I wanted to make, I based it on what I wanted to give. Because I knew that, I'm like, well, if I give this percentage, and if this percentage seems like a lot, then it's kind of like a reverse your mindset. If it feels like you're giving a lot, imagine how much you've just made. Right. So when people ask for favor, they got to be mindful of what favor really is. Okay. You know, because favor will come in the forms of work, more opportunity. The word, when it talks about the parable of the talents, he said, I will bless you and give you many more responsibilities. I was willing to take on more responsibilities. That means you might have to increase your own personal knowledge, your wisdom. But here's the cheat sheet today. Google. Right. YouTube. You know, I wanted to get into wearing bow ties. You know what? Nobody sat down to show me. I went to YouTube and I was like, how do I tie a bow tie? And boom, here I go. So we don't have a reason to go through life not knowing anymore. Right. That's the social networking. Absolutely. It's right there. So now we have to put ourselves on a different schedule. And when you put yourself on a different schedule, you're putting your whole life on a different plan. Because, see, look at it this way. We all get the job. The job tells you, that employer tells you when to show up. He'll tell you when to take a break, when to take a lunch break, when you can take a vacation. And they'll do all of this based on a schedule. So now if we take that and say, okay, I'm giving you 9 to 5, but then I'm also going to operate some things for me personally within that schedule that I'm giving you. So I never looked at I worked for someone. They always worked for me. Wow. So when I worked at Taco Bell was working for me. For you. Because I always had a plan. I never just work, get a check, and then figure out what you want to do with the money. Guaranteed, something will blow in. The wind, you know the saying, you never know what the wind's going to blow in. Right. The minute you get that money in hand, the wind is going to blow, and it's going to blow your money right out your hands. Then you'll get back to the point and say, now, how did I lose that money? Many of us, you know, at the end of tax seasons, will look at our tax savings and say, wow, I made this much. And then you ask the question, what did I do with that money? when you put a plan down and you actually start paying attention to your plan by having a daily budget tracker, you know, that I read this thing on Rockefeller where he counted every penny that he made, and I just looked at that and I'm like, we have this mindset. You know how you see the car lot?
Yeah.
They got so many cars they can give one away. I've said it too. Don't get me wrong. you know, but you realize that it's like you'll say that this guy has so much money, it seems like he could give it away, but they actually have it because they counted every penny.
Right.
And it's like what we said at the beginning. It's like we're making money, but here's the one thing everyone has to understand: every second of a minute, and every minute of an hour, and every hour of the day, you're actually spending money.
And scheduling is so, and we're going to talk about your book, but you are so right. You have to schedule your life.
Yes.
I tell my daughter all the time, you know, she is daughter, well, I got a grandbaby. Grandmama. And so I tell her all the time, you got to get up before the child. And schedule your day, because if you don't, when you get up, when the baby gets up,
it's over. It's a wrap.
You don't have no time for yourself. So we got to talk about this book, Schedule for Success. And I was perusing this book. I'm telling you, this is like gonna be the book. It's a must-have. It's a must-have. You got to talk about it. Now, this man is a financial guru. He has so much wealth. He's a multi-millionaire. I mean, God is doing some awesome things with him. And you got to talk about this book, though, called Schedule for Success. What's the story behind it?
Well, the story behind it is, as I was saying prior, your life is going to go. You know, tomorrow is going to happen whether we like it or not. Progress in tomorrow isn't guaranteed. So we are all going to wake up, and it's going to be a tomorrow. But that tomorrow will only be the results of what we did the day prior. So therefore, realizing that it's really, I'm not saying no rocket scientist information here. It's just I had to stop and think about it. You know, and I realized that I'm like, you know what, I really want to increase my wealth by this much. But realizing that as I increase wealth, I also want to increase my relationship with my wife and my children. I had to schedule it all in. Because, as I said, the first wave of making X amount of dollars, you get so focused on it because it's new territory. See, no one in my family had ever made $1 million. So there was no counsel there. And that's why I tell people, as I'm an open book, the first $1 million, I made it and blew it. Second time around, I'm like, new game plan. Because you learn about yourself and you learn what you did right and what you did wrong, and you don't want history to repeat. And once you realize that you can actually schedule it, so now I know what I'm doing every day. So people can't come in. I talk about in the book, do not allow people to ambush your schedule. You know, it's where I live. It's a beautiful golf course. It's nice lands, the whole nine. When I leave my driveway and I look across that beautiful course, I'm like, wow, that's wonderful. But one day I'm talking to the groundskeeper there. And I said, y'all always working. Just yesterday y'all was out there working. And he said, you see that house up there on the hill? And it's an old farmhouse. I said, yeah. He said, see those dandelions? I'm like, yeah. He said, that blows down on the golf course. And it hit me. And he said, and I joked, I said, so you never know what the wind's going to blow in. And I'm like, right. So while everything is looking good right now, you have to do your daily maintenance. Because the wind, in other words,
you don't know what's going to blow.
Satan ain't going to lay down.
That's the truth.
Let's just be real. The devil is not going to lay down. He is always, he's in the adversary full time, not part time. So when you think you've arrived and get comfortable, then that's when the wind blows in, and it's in the form of a speeding ticket. It's in the form of a flat tire. It's in the form of health. It's in the form of a bill that you didn't expect. It's in the form of someone else who didn't plan, who comes and ambush your plan and say, we need this amount of money right now. We're going to get put out our house, and you already made your budget, and you're just like, well, here you go. Now I got to sit here. You know, and you get ambushed. But if you can teach everyone around you to say, you know what, we don't want just financial wealth. I want to be happy.
Absolutely. Got to be happy.
If mama ain't happy, you ain't happy. And I can tell them from experience. You know, so it's one thing if you be able to drive a $200,000 car, but then you're driving it by yourself because she mad at you.
Yeah.
So you have to bring that whole system in place.
Yeah.
You know, so when they get scheduled for success, I write my books for people to read them because I know how people are. They'll read a part, and then they'll stop. I make them I'm like, this is enough right here. Go ahead, get the thing, read it from front to back, and then read it again, and now you start implementing the principles. But I truly believe that there are business owners, young entrepreneurs out here, and I speak a lot to our young people, is that they're out there. All they have to do is schedule it. I read some information that said if you take an 18-year-old today, put 10,000, you know, and leave it alone. You know, by the time they retire at 65, that'd be over $1 million. So I said, okay, people don't even have it to save 10,000. And then I'm like, you know what? Yes, we do. Because when we look at the Xboxes, everybody has an iPad. We look at the certain things we do, and I'm like, you know what? Go to work, but don't be afraid to get that part-time and say, you know what? This part-time is not that I need money. This part-time is because I'm going to never need money.
That's it.
And then now I'm sewing that part-time into my future. Don't be afraid to start a business. If you fail, so what? I'm the king of failing in business. You know, but I got back on that horse and said, okay, I learned. Don't get offended, and don't let the people who are going to have an opinion on you. I promise you, everybody has an opinion. And then when you make $1 million or more, they're going to say, oh, I knew you could do it. I knew you could do it the whole time. And you be sitting in your head like, Lord, help me. Help me, because I know that you was talking about me when I first started. You said it wasn't going to work, but it did. And people need to realize that it's all based on their daily schedule. Husbands, wives, young entrepreneurs, single individuals, stop everything and schedule it. If people call you at the last minute and say, I want to do this now, it's like, wait a minute, my schedule does not allow me to do this. I have to stay on schedule because you're scheduling your life for success. And that's what this book is about.
Ooh, Lord Jesus. I'm telling you, this book is a must-have. Schedule for Success. My special guest here, Paul D. Jones, a wealthy man. You want to make sure you get it. All your information is on the screen. How to contact him. You can get this book. I'm telling you, it's going to bless. And he got another book, Who Told You You Were Broke?
Oh, yes.
You got to get that one, too. I thank you so much, Paul, for being a part of the show.
Thank you.
You got to come back.
I look forward to it.
You got to come back. Thank you so much. I appreciate you spending this time with me. Schedule for Success is the book that you must have.